Hey guys, welcome back to Pokemon TCG Pocket. In today's video, we do have the new Cresselia EX event going on. Want to go through some tips for the event and also some teams to auto farm, hopefully a bit quicker, so you don't have to stress about doing these events, because manually playing these events can be quite tedious. If you are a newcomer, then the tips are going to be applicable to you. If you've played since the launch of the game, this event is very much the same as all the other events that we've had of this style, so you probably know the basics. So if you want to jump to teams to have some different options to cruise through this, then you can jump there. There is one spicy one that I think I'm going to test because I think it's going to be really consistent on autoplay, so I will leave timestamps for that. But for the newcomers, because we're always getting new players in, these events, essentially you have a bunch of different difficulties that you can go into to challenge these stages. The big tip is that you don't want to farm a low difficulty stage, because if we take a look here, you can see that the difficulty we will have beginner, intermediate, advanced, and expert. Now obviously you do have missions on all these ones, so if we go here, this is the beginner. This is going to be the deck that the beginner one used. This is your first time rewards. These are your chance rewards, and these are your missions. So definitely in your first time playing it, try and achieve these missions if you can. It's not the end of the world if you can't, but you can see that you do get extra stamina to go ahead and do more of these battles, which is going to be important for getting more packs. So make sure you try and do these missions in the first try that you have, because that is going to be the most important thing, so that you don't waste extra stamina doing these early stages to get the missions complete. The other thing is you do not want to farm these early stages, because you can see here the difficulty, beginner difficulty only has a 51% chance to drop a pack, and you just want to be getting a pack every time. So you don't want to be farming any of the early difficulties. You want to be farming the expert one, because that does have your 100% drop rate on getting the pack, which in the pack, then these are your odds. We have you can see it's only a 12.66% at getting the Cresselia EX, 15.8, 23.84, 23.84, and then 23.84. Now, out of these cards, the Electivire, the Turtwig, and the Skarmory are just like different skins of the cards. However, the Misdreavus and also, well, the Misdreavus has a different skill. This one is Confuse Ray. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. This could be a really annoying card in the Miss Maggie's decks as well, which is a decent card in itself, except it's not really going to help you against what the meta is kind of seeing a lot of, which is still having Drudagon Stalls. Against those types of things, it's not going to help you, but against opponents that want to play a bit more aggro, they're going to have to second guess their choices and maybe pivot out a bit more at a one cost energy if you do get this thing in your starting hand. So I do think this is going to see some play. And then we also have the Cresselia EX, which is basically a inverse of the Darkrai EX. As opposed to Darkrai, wherever you place an energy from your energy zone onto the Darkrai, in that case, it's dark energy. It's going to deal 20 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. This one, whenever you place an energy from your energy zone, a psychic energy, it's going to heal 20 damage from Cresselia. Now, this Cresselia, if it had better HP, it would be an absolute monster. The 140 HP is a little bit low. We do have the cape as a thing inside the game to increase this to 160. Still doesn't feel incredibly bulky. I will definitely test this out in decks, but definitely worth picking this up anyway, so that you can have 2 copies of it. So you definitely want to farm this event on the expert stage until you open enough packs to ideally get yourself a play set of each of these, but ideally you really want 2 Cresselia EXs and 2 Misdreavus at a bare minimum, because they are going to be different functionally for your kits. As for the rest, like, you know, the rest of them don't matter, but let's face it, you're probably going to get multiple copies of the rest before you get 2 Cresselia EX based on the general odds that we have inside this one. The other thing is with your event stamina, I saw some people like in previous events go absolutely ham on these. Just note that with trading, as of yet, we cannot trade these event cards, the promo cards. So if you're trying to collect a heap of them for trading in the future, it's not available yet, but we don't know if they may allow these to trade in the future. I think it's crazy of them not to let people get cards that have different abilities and effects than other versions of the card. So I would like to see that one day we do get it, but once again, I don't know yet, so we're going to have to wait and see if they do eventually allow that into trading. But that is a look at that one. As we move on from that, this is going to be the expert deck, because this is the one we're going to aim to farm. So we do have, it is running basically the Gardevoir and Miss Maggie's line with the 2 Cresselia EX. So it is a psychic deck. Obviously getting the ramp pressure with Gardevoir. They do have the the Leaf, Oak, Cape, and Pokeball. There's nothing too surprising in here. It's just if they set up Gardevoir, they'll get lots of energy, but they don't have a big swing in this deck. You can see we've got the 80 attack and the 70 attack, which neither of them are super hefty. So I think there's going to be a lot of decks that can really just, and keeping in mind, we do have four of our 6 basics are very, very squishies. So I do think there is going to be a situation in which you can just outpace this deck, as well as you can just set up and sweep on it. So I think you're going to have plenty of options. When we look at the newer decks, using anything from the Sneasel, Weavile, Darkrai type combos is going to be fine. The Magnezone Darkrai deck is definitely a thing at the moment with the stalled Druddigon. However, I think that's a bit slow, and I don't know how smart that thing will be on auto. So I'd probably lean away from that one and lead more into the aggro dark decks if you're going to be playing any form of dark decks. We do have the Scolipede as well, if you have that from Mythical Island, which I think is going to be really good in this one as well. Any of those dark decks, obviously by having the advantage, it's going to do decently against this. And once again, you are playing this on auto, because once you clear them once, the main objective is to get this on auto, and that's what I do in all of these events. Make a deck that I think is going to have a decent win rate and hopefully do it pretty quickly. That can do it on auto. That way I can just set it to fight, put it on auto before the battle, put it in my pocket, check it back later, and then clear it through. Once again, if you lose on auto, it doesn't matter because it refunds your stamina, so you can go again if you want. But that is that one. The next deck here is the one that I am going to test out, because I think this deck is going to be really, really solid on auto, and that is the Pachirisu 18 trainer. Now, you can use different trainers in here, but the key thing is having the Rocky Helmets and the Giant Capes. And then this one, this is just an example build that I found from, I think it was Ursi's tournament. This one has 1 Lumberry. Basically, the Pachirisu, you just want to get a tool to equip to it. Whatever it is, doesn't really matter. And then you put 2 energy on and you start swinging, and you're pretty good. This one has 2 potions for the healing. Obviously, this is running the Sabrina and Cyrus. Don't know how smart that'll be on the AI, but in general, the rest of this is pretty staple stuff that you can go ahead. And like I said, the reason I like this is because sometimes the AI will do stupid retreats and waste energy and just put yourself on the back foot. In this one, there's literally only one thing it can do. It can put up the Pachirisu, it can equip it with a Pokemon tool, and then it can swing for damage. And because it's swinging for 80 damage on turn 2, even with healing, it's going to 2-shot the Cresselia EX because it is at 140. Now, if it has the cape, it is still going to EX at sweep it at 160. However, it does have the 20 healing, so you might get into a pickle there and have to 3-shot it. But then your second one should be able to clear through anything else that they have. I think this is just going to be a really solid deck to play on auto for the event. So that is something that I will definitely experiment with. Then any of your other big decks you should be fine with. Palkia, Manaphy, even with the Starmie, maybe a little bit better than the Vaporeon. I have seen the AI do some stupid stuff with Vaporeon, but you know, these water decks, when you have Misty, when you have Manaphy Ramp, you should be pretty good to get going. Any type of Dialga deck I think will be pretty solid, because once again, we are pretty chunky. They don't have massive swings, so like even the Dialga Melmetal, I think is going to be pretty fine against this, because you do have the damage mitigation. If you're running it with a couple potions as well, maybe you run Capes instead of Rocky Helmets. Should be a fairly solid auto option. Then as we move through, if you're running Charizard, you can feel free to run those. Any of your old decks should be perfectly fine. If you've got an old Pikachu deck, I think that will be perfectly fine. Charizard, I think that'll be okay. Sometimes it's a bit scuffed on auto though with the Charizard. I'd probably look to Infernate if you have it, but once again, you can experiment with this stuff. Sometimes it does go a bit botchy on auto. Mewtwo's a pretty linear deck. I think this normally plays pretty well on auto. If I was doing it though, I'd probably drop the Mew. If I was doing it for the auto version, because sometimes Mew can mess up what the AI does in terms of placement. But besides that, I mean, Mewtwo's a pretty staple deck to play on auto AI, so you can play around with that as well. And just about any other decks you guys have, just be careful of playing those fighting decks, because obviously the weakness is going to cripple you, and you should be pretty good. But like I said, this is the deck I'm going to check out. Let me know any decks that you guys that are autoing it pretty well. But once again, if you fail, you can just retry. It refunds you the stamina for it, so it's not the end of the world anyway. But that is a look at the event. Once again, definitely try and pick up your Cresselia EXs and your Misdreavus, especially get you 2 copies of each of them, because they're going to be the important things moving forward, just having a copy of them, and then the others are for collector's value. But anyway, guys, that is going to be it for this one. As always, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing the next one. Cheers.